ॐ तव कथामृतं तप्तजीवनं कविभिरीडितं कलमशापहं श्रवणमङ्गलं श्रीमदाततं भुवि गणन्ति भूरिदा जनाः. Your words are like nectar, bring life to scorched souls. They are praised by poets and remove all sin. They are auspicious to hear, wonderful and exalted. Those who spread these words throughout the world are truly giving souls. Welcome to our class on the Gospel of Sri Ramakrishna. We're on chapter 33 with the Various Devotees, and this began on Sunday, October 26th, 1884. And we're in Sri Ramakrishna's room, and we're in the middle of page 646. And the conversation has been about the need to do some spiritual practice, to do some hard work. So we'll start with this question. So the devotee asks, now the question is how to become acquainted with the master. This was a reference to this what Sri Ramakrishna said. If you want to see the master of the house, then you have to go and somehow or other become acquainted with the master, even if you have to jump over the fence or take a few pushes from the servants. So then the question, how do we? So it means, what do we have to do if we want to realize God? Master. That is why I say that work is necessary. It will not do to say that God exists and then idle away your time. You must reach God somehow or other. Call on him in solitude and pray to him. O Lord, reveal thyself to me. Weep for him with a longing heart. You roam about in search of objects of lust and gold like a madman. Now be a little mad for God. Let people say, this man has lost his head for God. Why not renounce everything for a few days and call on God in solitude? So this is where we stopped last time. What will you achieve by simply saying that God exists and doing nothing about it? There are big fish in Haldarpukur, but can you catch them by merely sitting idly on the bank? Prepare some spiced bait and throw it into the lake. Then the fish will come from the deep water, and you will see ripples. That will make you happy. Perhaps the fish will jump with a splash, and you will get a glimpse of it. Then you will be so glad. Milk must be turned to curd, and curd must be churned. Only then will you get butter. To Mahima. What a nuisance. Someone must show God to a man while he himself sits idly by all the while. Someone must extract the butter and hold it in front of his mouth. Olaf. What a bother. Someone else must catch the fish and give it to him. So this is the theme that Ramakrishna is talking about here, that we talk glibly about practicing surrender, sharanagati. We talk glibly about everything is mother's will, and we will practice. We'll be like the small kitten. The kitten doesn't have to do anything. The mother cat will take care of the kitten. Yeah, but the fact of the matter is that that takes tremendous faith, and it's something that we don't get that type of faith without doing something. So it's very easy to say that we'll do that, but we have to always make sure that we're not confusing tamas and sattva. Yeah, that we think that we're being quiet and still and practicing perfect surrender, and when we're lazy, when we're not putting forth effort, we're not doing what's necessary to be done in order to achieve something in spiritual life. So this sharanagati comes at the end of a great exertion and great effort and spiritual practice. This is why we have the story of the bird. The bird has to fly in every direction, absolutely as far as it can fly, in search of land. up until the point where it knows that it'll actually die unless it goes back to the ship in every possible direction. Then it can practice Sharanagati. So this this is this is tremendously important. If And the other thing is, if we say that we'll just live in the world without any attachment, don't have to practice any renunciation. We won't have any attachment. That's Ramakrishna is saying that this is like saying that my mind can mix with the world and nothing will happen to it. But it's like mixing milk and water. They'll just get completely mixed up with each other. That all this effort has to be done in order to turn this milk into, first it has to be turned into curd. So that means that there has to be some solitude, some quiet period and everything. And then there's a churning of it. It's a big job. Huh? And once it's hard, then it can float in the water. But we can't say that, well, let me do that in the beginning. In the beginning, it's the other example is uh, is the small tree that's planted. That yeah, when it's a big tree, we can tie the elephant to it. Nothing will happen. When it's little, we have to protect it. We have to let it grow and get strong. So this is that very intimate connection between self effort and grace. That we think that grace is enough. It's enough, but we have to have the self effort in order to be able to access it, to experience it, to appreciate it, to let it be come alive in our lives. So this is we forget how much effort, how much emphasis Thakur put on this idea of self effort. A man wanted to see the king. The king lived in the inner court of the palace, beyond seven gates. No sooner did the man pass the first gate than he exclaimed, "Oh, where's the king?" But there were seven gates, and he must pass them one after another before he could see the king. Yeah, so there are all different stages in spiritual life, and all different degrees of uh, detachment and discrimination and everything, and we can't skip any of them. This is another theory of astrology. We have these board games where we have our little piece, and it's got to go all like Monopoly. It's got to go all the way. Yeah, there's no go straight to home. You have to go through each and every one. There's no special card that we get that go straight to jail or go, yeah. There's nothing like that. He says you have to pass it through each one of the stages so you can get through. Now, some will be born, of course, closer to the end. There, we don't know about all these things. Some may have seem to have a head start, but we shouldn't try to just uh, take the shortcuts. Yeah, take the shortcuts. First of all, if we take shortcuts and get to the end, we won't appreciate it unless we've gone through the whole journey, and we won't get there. Also, but Mahimacharan. By what kind of work can one realize God? Now we remember last time I spoke about this Mahimacharan. He was sincere in his own way, but at the same time he loved to impress people. What a great jnani he was and everything. So he's we can't compare him to the direct disciples, but at the same time he was a devotee. He was part of this, I don't know, inner circle or outer circle, but part of this play. And he came to Sri. He had great respect for Sri Ramakrishna, and Sri Ramakrishna uh, is giving him the best possible advice, but knowing that he doesn't have that spirit of renunciation. He's really giving him advice that will be suitable for him as a householder. And he's older. I don't know exactly how old he is, but he's not one of the young ones who came to him. You have it there. Yeah, yeah. He's check and see his age. It'll be in the back. Yeah. So, by what kind of work can one realize God, Master? It is not that God can be realized by this work and not by that. Yeah, this is one of the themes of Gita, especially that God can be realized through any whatever work we're assigned to by our dharma or karma. Whatever work comes to us as a result of uh, the necessity of things and or situation in life, whatever it is. If we pick up trash on the street or if we're operating the surgery, it doesn't matter. That anybody, through the proper performance of their duty, can have the highest realization. Siddhima Apnoti Purusha. This is a great theme of the Gita. This is how this Gita really broke with the Orthodox tradition that you had to be Brahmin and you had to have all these good qualities. It says anybody from whatever caste or whatever gender, anybody can have the highest realization. So it is not that God can be realized by this work and not by that. The vision of God depends on his grace. Okay, it depends on grace. But the next thing is still, nevertheless, it does depend on grace. Still, a person must work a little with longing for God in his heart. Now, Thakur's little is a lot for us. When he says you must work a little, and we're hoping it means 5 minutes in the morning and 5 minutes at night. He doesn't mean that. Yeah, it really means that we have to very sincerely work a little with longing for God in his heart. So this what any kind of work that we can do, it can be a source of bondage or it can be a source of liberation. It doesn't depend on the spirit in which we do it. If we do it as an offering, if we do it without clinging to the results, if we do it without any pride or ego, then of course it'll help purify the heart. To attain God, a man must have certain favorable conditions. Yeah, this is another theme that we find. Sometimes Thakur uses this phrase, this anukulya. I like this phrase very much. Yeah, that especially when he gives the example of the ship, the ship that once you raise the sail, anukulya, a favorable breeze, just uh, right behind us, pushing us forward. So we have a full sail, and it won't be so strong that it'll just gently take us straight without any effort. We don't have to tack back and forth like in the sailboat. Just go straight, favorable breeze. This is a beautiful expression. This comes as the result of hard work. This is what he says. This is that second stage, this stage of anuraga. The first stage is Vaidhi Bhakti, where we have to work very hard. We have to have a strict routine that we follow. We do a certain amount of japa and meditation and puja and all sorts of things. And then it becomes natural and easy and smooth, and we don't have to put forth that effort automatically. It takes place. So, favorable conditions, the company of a holy man, discrimination, and the blessings of a real teacher. Perhaps his elder brother takes the responsibility for the family. Perhaps his wife has spiritual qualities and is very virtuous. Perhaps he is not married at all or entangled in worldly life. He succeeds when conditions like these are fulfilled. Yeah, this we actually see, and bless you. Mm, mm, yeah. Whether we attribute this to karma, we had a long discussion about prarabdha karma earlier. Whether this is the result of karma, whether it's the result of good fortune, whether it's the result of effort or hard work, whether there's some law, some spiritual law. Just as we say, when the disciple is ready, the guru will come. Same thing, but we see it. We see this especially in the lives of these great householders, but those who take to monastic life. Yeah, this idea of prarabdha karma, that we don't know if it's responsible, what it's responsible for exactly. But I have a little bit of faith that it'll be decisive factor in whether one leads a monastic life or a householder life. That and when we talk about grace, the grace of God, this prarabdha karma, if it's good, is equivalent to grace of God. Uh, this is the grace of God, could be the result of karma also. I don't make a big distinction, two different ways of trying to explain it, but things fall into place. They just fall into place. That Thakur gives beautiful examples. That the elder brother takes the responsibility for the family. Uh, that marriage is supposed to be arranged and it falls through. Uh, Something happens that it seems as if somebody is meant for that type of life and is being protected somehow. We have so many examples of these things. How a chance meeting with a devotee will happen, we think was a chance. That will just happen to pick up a book was a chance. We don't know. But it just, everything seems to just fall into place. This is what he means, favorable conditions. So then we know that this grace is at play. Then we can have some feeling that maybe we have uh, accumulated a little good karma, and there's a good karma and God's grace that we find ourselves on a spiritual path. That see so many people that they'll live near a center, then they'll get a big job position and move, and they're not near a center anymore. And then the opposite. Some they don't know anything, and they move, and it turns out that they're in the city where there's a center, and turns out to be such a great blessing for them. So this is just one of these big question marks in life, uh, that why and how these things happen. But I think we can have that faith that it's because of our sincerity. If we're really sincere, we really long to lead a spiritual life, that things will clear up, that obstacles will fall away somehow, that we'll get this type of grace, the anukulya, that breeze will come. And then spiritual life, it doesn't become easy, but it becomes spontaneous. It becomes, yeah, relatively easy, we can say. So let me read this again. To attain God, a person must have certain favorable conditions: the company of holy men, discrimination, and the blessings of a real teacher. Perhaps his elder brother takes the responsibility for the family. Perhaps his wife has spiritual qualities, or husband. Remember, he's talking to the men here, and is very virtuous. Perhaps he is not married at all or entangled in worldly life. He succeeds when conditions like these are fulfilled. Yeah, we look at the life of Mahapurush Maharaj, Swami Shivananda, that when he was a young man, he had a sister. Their family was not very well to do, and to arrange a marriage for his sister was very, very difficult. That they had a shortage of money, they couldn't arrange a good marriage, and finally they found a family that said, "We have a son and a daughter. We're willing to arrange a marriage with your daughter. Our son will marry your daughter if your son will marry our daughter." Yeah, this happens in families. Yeah, then there's no exchange of money or dowry or anything like that. It's helpful for both sides. Now this Tara, it's Mahapurush, he he had no inclination for married life. He of course destined to be one of the great monastic disciples of Sri Ramakrishna, but he agreed just out of love for his sister. Only way that you could get married, a love for his sister. Now, fortunately or unfortunately, his wife passed away very soon after that. Yeah, and then perfectly free to lead his monastic life. He did his duty. Sister had the marriage and everything. So Yeah, I don't want to say this favorable breeze means the wife had to die, but still, just how things happen, how things happen. We're born into a family that has, yeah, it's whether it's good karma or whether it's God's grace, very very difficult to say. But I would say that the good karma is God's grace, and vice versa in this case. In a certain family, a man lay seriously ill. He was at the point of death. Someone said, "Here is a remedy. First, it must rain when the star Swati is in the ascendant. Then, some of that rainwater must collect in a human skull. Then, a frog must come there, and a snake must chase it. And as the frog is about to be bitten by the snake, it must jump away, and the poison of the snake must drop into the skull." Yeah, yeah. Shh, shh. "You must prepare a medicine from this poison and give it to the patient. Then he will live." The head of the family consulted the almanac about the star. He had to find the exact time when this Swati in the ascendant. This is some very, very auspicious time. I don't know why exactly. This is also the time when the oyster comes and opens up the shell and catches a drop of rain and then goes to the bottom of the ocean and makes a pearl. Yeah, so there's something very auspicious about this when Swati is in the ascendant. So they consulted the almanac about the star and set out at the right moment. With great longing of heart, he began to search for the different ingredients. See, this main thing is this tremendous longing and willing to do something that seems almost impossible. What are the odds that can you imagine how long anybody would have to wait for a snake to try to catch a frog and for not to do it and the venom to come and just fall into that pot where the water, yeah, what are the odds of something like this? God realization is like that. It's not, odds aren't very much in our favor. With great longing of heart, he began to search for the different ingredients. He prayed to God, "O Lord, I shall succeed only if you bring together all the ingredients." Yeah. So self effort and recognizing our helplessness, they seem almost contradictory, but they're not. They're not. We know that we have to do the very best we can. And we also know that if it's only up to our self effort, we won't do it. So we can do it through self effort, but we can't do it without self effort. That's necessary, but it's not enough. We need this grace also. As he was roaming about, he actually saw a skull lying on the ground. Presently, there came a shower of rain. Then the man exclaimed, "O gracious Lord, I have got the rainwater under Swati, and the skull too. What is more, some of the rain has fallen into the skull. Now be kind enough to bring together the other ingredients." He was reflecting with a yearning heart when he saw a poisonous snake approaching. His joy knew no bounds. He became so excited that he could feel the thumping of his own heart. Thakur was a great storyteller. "O God," he prayed, "now the snake has come too. I have procured most of the ingredients. Please be gracious and give me the remaining ones." No sooner did he pray thus than a frog hopped up. The snake pursued it. As they came near the skull, and the snake was about to bite the frog jumped over the skull, and the snake's poison fell into it. The man began to dance, clapping his hands for joy. So I say that one gets everything through yearning. So through effort, through sincerity, through yearning, through grace. All of these are necessary. How we understand them, at what degree, and everything. All we can control is our effort and our sincerity. We can't control these other things. We pray for them. We may have expectations and hopes and everything, but what we can control is our own effort, our own sincerity, our own yearning, these things. A person cannot realize God unless he renounces everything mentally. Now, remember, he's talking to this is Mahimacharan. Did we find out how old? Yeah. Doesn't say when he was born. No, that's okay. Yeah, yeah. Compared to the others, he was, yeah. He had a school. Yeah, we read about it last time, I think, one time. So renounces mentally. No, so Sri Ramakrishna, actually, all of the scriptures, especially Gita, this mental renunciation is far more important than external renunciation. External renunciation without mental renunciation is useless. Is useless. That this very important verse, first verse of chapter 6, that who is the real sannyasi? Is not the one who wears the cloth and gives up household duties and all of that. Uh, not the one who doesn't perform the duties. No, the person who can do everything without any type of attachment is the real sannyasi and the real yogi. Not the one who just gives up fire and other worldly duties and things. So in Gita, this is, of course, the very orthodox sannyasa tradition won't like these things. The Gita is a very radical text. It's a very kind of anti-Brahminical, anti-sannyasa text. But people don't like to say that, but the emphasis is for the common person. Yeah, is for the householder and for the common people, simple people, those who had no access to Shruti even. That this was meant for them specifically. So, this mental renunciation is the most important thing. For those destined to lead a monastic life, it has to be both. It has to be both. Now, the problem with this mental renunciation is that there have to be limits to it. That one can't just keep accumulating and buying and enjoying and everything and saying I'm not attached to anything. If one has that mental renunciation, they'll lead a very simple type of life. They won't complicate things. They'll be content with what comes easily through their effort and make every effort to simplify their lives. So this mental renunciation is also there has to be a little bit, at least moderation, if not renunciation. But this is the crucial thing. If a monk it has pride, among the proud, I am a sannyasi. Everyone has to bow down to me. If a monk is attached, this is my center, this is my work, I did this, I did that, then it's useless. I'm not 100% useless. I mean, Thakur says just to lead a monastic life, some value, of course, but yeah, it's missing the whole point of it. So whether a monk or a householder, this mental part is the crucial part. The main thing is renunciation of the ego, of this pride, this sense of I. A sadhu cannot lay things up. So there are some distinctions that the householder has to provide for the future, has to have a bank account, has to have enough provisions for the future. The sadhu should rely wholly on God. Now, modern day sadhus like us, we're other than not having a family and not having a paying job. Other than that, we have all the duties that everybody else has. We have to look after paying the bills and making sure the money comes in uh, the center runs and everything. So it's not so terribly different, but uh, the attachment that comes from having husband or wife and children and everything, of course, that's quite different from the attachment that comes with a good monk should be able to give up easily and move from one place to another. A sadhu cannot lay things up. So Thakur, of course, was very, very particular about that. that to have possessions and to especially to have things that we don't need now that we might need in the future. That's what it means to lay things up, to keep things provisions in case something happens. In Thakur's mind, it means that we don't have that uh, reliance on God. Reliance on God will be taken care of, or will manage no matter what happens. That we shouldn't worry about what's going to happen in the future. That if we have that full reliance on God, then we'll be taken care of. Yogic Shema Vahamya. That whatever little we need will come to us, and whatever we have to uh, possess, if we really need to, then that'll be protected for us. That's all. To have that type of faith. Householder cannot do that the way that a monk can do it. Householder has to think about the future and has to think about what happens in case some tragedy. Yeah, they have to be very serious about that. Then Thakur quotes a little expression: "Birds and wandering monks do not make provisions for the morrow. Such is the state of my mind that I cannot carry even clay in my hand. Once, when Hridoy tormented me, yeah, we heard about Hridoy last week, how he really, Thakur was ready to commit suicide. He was tormented so much by him. I thought of leaving this place and going to Benares. I thought of taking some clothes with me, but how could I take money? So I could not go to Benares or left. To Mahima, you are a householder. Therefore, you should hold both to this and to that, both to the world and to God." Yeah, Keshav, I think it was Keshav, who said, "You say that, but one day you'll sting us." He says, one day you'll say, "And I'll give up this to the world and just cling to God." But at least in the beginning, until we're ready, then this is the ideal for the householder. To this and to that. That means both to the world and to God. Mahima, sir, can one hold to that? Who holds to that also hold to this. So the Mahima, he has a little bit of, yeah, of a sincere spiritual attitude towards things. A good question. He's saying, yes, it sounds very easy. Hold on to the world with one hand, hold on to God with the other hand. Can we really do it? Yeah. Rama and Kama. Huh? Can they go hand in hand, or at least one hand in the other hand? It's a good question. Master, he's going to give a roundabout type of answer. He's not going to say exactly. Yeah, his real answer normally is yes, this is what we have to do until we're ready to let go and then hold on to God with both hands. Master, once sitting on the bank of the Ganges near the Panchavati, holding a rupee in one hand and clay in the other, I discriminated. The rupee is the clay is verily the rupee, and the rupee is verily the clay, and then threw the rupee into the river. Now, the people wonder very much why Thakur would do something like that. Uh, we find very often that he did things that were symbolic uh, ways of expressing this attitude of oneness towards everything. This in Gita we find that this is one of the signs of a holy person, to whom uh, a lump of clay and a rock and gold are all the same, no distinction. That means we're not tempted by it. We recognize the difference, but to me, it doesn't make any difference. They're one and the same. You give me one, it's okay. You take one away, it doesn't matter. I'm indifferent. Yeah, that type of idea. Or we can say, oh, they're just all play of the elements, different combinations of the elements. But really, the same sidedness and indifference to possessions. So Thakur literally did this by saying, this is something people consider like gold, something very valuable. This is just something that people throw away. And I see that both are, what's the difference for me? What's the difference? He's not going to sell the gold and buy fancy clothes and a car and a house or anything. So they're the same. No difference whatsoever. So He's saying that means holding on to God alone, but it's going to be followed up with something else. But I was a little frightened. How foolish of me to offend the goddess of fortune, Lakshmi. Uh, So now we can say he's being calculating. Uh, but this type of calculation is for the sake of the householder. It's the little bit of a compromise just to show that this is only for a certain type of person to renounce everything. I thought, what shall I do if she doesn't provide me with food anymore? Yeah, so the thought came into his mind, but Thakur had no. Yeah, this was just uh, how he could identify with people struggling in the world and the way they have to think and everything. So for him, he didn't worry about these things. Then, like Hazra, I sought help in a ruse. Yeah, that means a little, a little bit disingenuous here. I said to the goddess, Mother, may you dwell in my heart. Once the Divine Mother was pleased. So that means that, yeah, I don't care for anything, but somebody has to provide food for me. And dwell in my heart, you'll take care of everything. Once the Divine Mother was pleased with the man's austerities, and said to him, You may ask a favor of me. O mother, said he, if you were so pleased with me, then grant, this is one boon, and grant that I may eat from a gold plate with my grandchildren. Now, in one boon, the man got everything: grandchildren, wealth, and gold plates. All that. When the mind is free from lust and gold, it can be directed to God and become absorbed in Him. Now, we're going to get to another statement later. I don't know if we'll get to it today, but just this is a very important idea. He says the mind has to be free from lust and gold in order to direct it towards God. He also says the mind will never be free from lust and gold until the realization of God. Yeah. So that means that just like doubt, we can never realize God if we're filled with doubt, but we can never be completely rid of doubt until we get God realization. So it means there's a certain degree and a certain type of renunciation that we have to have in order to get to the roof. Once we're there, then everything changes when we come back down again. So this is true that the mind has to be freed, but it can't be completely freed. That this lust, or Swami Bhaswananji said a nice thing the other week. It's a biological thing. I like to say Darwinian. That it comes with the human body, and all of these other things: greed, possession, self-protection, all of these things. So as long as we have some identification with the body, these things will be there. If we have that God realization, then alone can we really be free from these things. And Thakur says, even then, a trace might still be there. It won't affect us. Trace might still be there. And just like when we dream we're being chased by a tiger, and we wake up, we say, there was no tiger, there's no fear at all. But the heart is still beating a little bit. Yeah. So a little trace may remain. So when the mind is freed from lust and gold, it can be directed to God and become absorbed in Him. So we understand it's not going to be 100% free when the mind is not preoccupied with it, then it can be directed to God and become absorbed in Him. It is the bound alone who can be freed. Now, it's equally true that it's the free alone that can be freed. That we have to tell ourselves we're already perfect, we're already free. If you tie somebody up, then they're bound. We won't tie them up unless they're free. Huh? If they're bound, you don't have to tie them. Huh? We tie them because they're free, and if without the bondage, they'll run away. Huh? So we have to understand both, that from the highest point of view, we're free and perfect already. From this common sense, ordinary point of view, we're bound on every side by our own personality, our own samskaras, our own desires, our own past impressions, all sorts of things. These represent bondage for us, but they're binding the superficially binding something which is eternally free and can never ultimately be bound. Because we think we're bound, we're bound. I saw a thing once about elephants that if you take a rope and you tie elephants to a big tree or big log, something like that, and then they pull away a few times, they know that they're bound. If you take that rope and just throw it and make it look like it's being tied around it, there can be a forest fire. They can be in the worst possible danger, and they'll assume that they're bound, and they won't run away, won't even attempt to run away. This is our condition. That's the type of bondage that we have. It's not really impinging upon our freedom, but because we think it is, it is. The moment the mind turns away from God, it is bound. When does the lower needle of a pair of scales move away from the upper one? When one pen is pressed down by a weight. Lust and greed is the weight. Yeah, you know this type of scale. Somebody holds it from the middle, and there are two free floating things. This is how they measure things. You buy some sugar or something, they'll put it on one side, and then it'll keep adding weight and weight and weight and weight until it balances out. Yeah, you put too much weight, and it'll go like that. So this is the world is pulling us down. Lust and gold is the weight. Why does a child cry on coming out of its mother's womb? With its cry, it says, as it were, just see where I am now. In my mother's womb, I was meditating on the lotus feet of God, but see where I am now. So that means that we recognize that our true nature is perfect and free and one with God. And this, somehow we're covered with this Maya that comes with the very birth, with this human birth, that we're covered with that Maya that has to be just washed off. It doesn't penetrate into the self. So the real self is never tainted by any of this, but it makes us feel that we're bound, like the elephant. Yeah, it makes us feel that way. To Mahima, you should renounce mentally, live the life of a householder in a spirit of detachment. Yes.
He also says in other
Yeah.
instances that if you're surrounded by pickles and tamarind
Yes.
vegetation, how do you reconcile this from the life of a householder? Like, is this more?
Okay, so this is the question that Sri Ramakrishna, he says that uh, if a patient has typhoid, now with a typhoid, uh, somehow, whether it's medically true or not medically true, the patient is not supposed to drink a lot of water and they're very thirsty. So he says if a typhoid patient is put in a room where there are jars of pickle is very salty and very tasty for some people, and it makes one thirsty. So if there's a bottle of the pickle and the jugfuls of water, that the poor fellow, what will he do? He'll want to eat the pickle and drink the water, and it'll be bad for him. So what Sri Ramakrishna is saying that even living in the world, we have to be very careful about our environment, about what we submit ourselves to, the company that we keep, the things that we do. Uh, so if we live in the world doesn't mean we can't keep good company. It doesn't mean we can't avoid certain things that we know will tempt us. As far as possible. As far as possible. We can't do it completely, but as far as possible, that we have to be very careful about our environment and the things that we see, the experience, the books that everything that we do. Uh, a an alcoholic can live in the world like everybody else and avoid going to the bars and taverns and avoid keeping company with people who drink. They have to do that. They may reach a point where it doesn't matter. where they're so established in their sobriety that they can go anywhere. But it's dangerous. And of course, the AA theory, their ideology, is that one should never think that now I'm safe, I can do anything. They can never fall at any time. That's why they'll never claim to be cured of being an alcoholic. First thing they'll say, "This is my name, and I'm an alcoholic." But they'll be uh, practicing sobriety. Uh, that the I don't remember the term that they call it, but anyhow, they're recovering alcoholic. Yeah. They use that type of terminology. So it's true that the world uh, will present certain temptations, but at the same time, the householder doesn't have to practice that same type of austerity that the monk does. But the householder also has a choice. The householder doesn't have to be constantly uh, uh, seeking an environment that will provide nothing but temptation. So the householder keeps good company, holy company, reads holy things, has holy thoughts, leads a spiritual life. Then they don't have to worry about these things so much, so much. So Mahima asked the question: can a man live in the world if his mind is once directed to God? So this is a good. These are all good questions. We can say that there will be certain people that absolutely no, they can't live in the world. There'll be some like that. That the second they have some type of inner revolution, then no, they they can't. It'll be impossible. It'll be torture for them. Huh? This is what Thakur says, that the world will look like a raging forest fire. That relatives will be like poisonous snakes. One will just fly away from that. Uh, but on the other hand, that uh, where do we go? Everyone is in the world. Uh, that there'll be many people that yes, they can just see God in everything, and everyone will try. That this will be for them. So Sri Ramakrishna is going to give the second answer. Sometimes with the young monastics, so he'll give a different answer. Yeah, you, because of your karma, because of your good qualities, because of Thakur's grace, that you reached a point where impossible for you to lead a worldly life. Now, leading a life in the world and leading a worldly life are two different things. One can lead a very pious life in the world, and one can live a worldly life in an ashram. Yeah, yeah. If one has bad habits, if one is constantly uh, keeping bad company, you can keep bad company in an ashram also. All sorts of things go on, and be filled with pride and also the other things. So uh, this living in the world. So he's going to give this example. This is one of his favorite examples. He says, "Why not? Where will he go away from the world?" Yeah. So see, living in the world, there are actually two things. This word samsara, this has two meanings. That one is yes, this is the world. The other is family life. So when we say renounce the world, we don't really mean where do you leave? You can't leave the world. It means you lead a monastic life, solitary life devoted to God. But here he's just giving you this general idea that where will he go away from the world? I realize that wherever I live, I am always in the Ayodhya of Rama. This whole world is Rama's Ayodhya. So this is the role that our spiritual attitude plays in spiritual life. This world can be heaven for us. It can be hell for us. Part of it, of course, is the external environment. We don't downplay that, but the same. I mean, we see it. Those who are not fit for the spiritual life, or it's just not a good match, they'll be in the wonderful center of ours, and they'll suffer. It'll be a type of agony for them. They'll eventually have to leave. And then others, they'll be in a center that maybe it's poor, maybe they don't get good food and this and that, and they'll be in heaven. Yeah, everything is the question of the mind. Thakur says it over and over again. Moniya kotha. Everything is a question of the mind. So if we feel that this is Rama's Ayodhya, that we're living in Thakur's Dakshineswar day and night, then we'll be happy. After receiving instruction from his teacher, Rama said that he would renounce the world. So he had that dispassion. He wanted to give up everything, renounce the world for God. Dasharatha sent the sage Vasishtha to Rama to dissuade him. Vasishtha found him filled with intense renunciation. He said to Rama, "First of all, reason with me, Rama, then you may leave the world. May I ask you if this world is outside God? If that is so, then you may give it up." Rama found that it is God alone who has become the universe and all its living beings. Everything in the world appears real on account of God's reality behind it. Thereupon, Rama became silent. Yeah, this is the same world. It can be a heaven for us or a hell for us, depending on uh, our spiritual attitude or maturity. Yeah, or whether we're uh, happy to compromise and adjust and live with other people and be unselfish, or whether we just want everything for ourselves. And then there's always struggle. In the world, a person must fight against passions like lust and anger, against many desires, against attachment. It is convenient to fight from inside a fort, from his own home. At home, he gets his food and other help from his wife. In the Kali Yuga, the life of a man depends entirely on food. It is better to get food at one place than to knock at 7 doors for it. Living at home is like facing the battle from a fort. So Sri Ramakrishna used to say that. Uh, uh, but for the monks, he would give a different type of advice. Yeah, yeah. So it would depend on what was suitable to the person. This is very interesting. The Thakur gives this illustration of this Vasishta's uh, conversation with Rama several different times. Then one time, when Thakur is talking about the need for renunciation, that M reminds him, but Vasishta said to Rama, "Where will you go outside of this world?" And remember what Thakur said. He only told him that because he had to kill Ravana. And then M was dumbfounded. So it depends. Yeah, it depends on what the point that Thakur was trying to make at the time. Living at home, it's like facing the battle from a fort. He's trying to give encouragement to the householders. We know that from personal experience. Householders always feel like second-class citizens. They're always saying, "But we're only householders. What can we do?" and everything. So Thakur is really trying to tell them that if you have that inner conviction and that inner renunciation, you can also realize God. Live in the world like a cast-off leaf in a gale. Now, this is a very nice illustration. There's a line from this Ashtavakra Samhita. Perhaps Thakur got it because he loved that text. This Shushka Parnavat, live in the world like a dried leaf. The illustration here, uh, and this is something that we see, at least in the old days in India, that we see that sometimes they'll have a big feast and everyone sits outside and there'll either be a banana leaf or some other type of leaf there. And rice and dal, everything is put there. So it gets all the wet and sticky and kind of sticks to the ground a little bit and everything. And everybody eats, and nobody, you don't have to bother to do anything with it because eventually cows will come and eat it. So it's just all sitting there. But after a while, everything dries out. And when it dries out, a little wind comes and it can be blown anywhere. So this is a way of saying that there's a way to live in this world without trying to manipulate everything. Yeah, let our past karma dictate what we'll do next and what will happen next. For a sadhu, it can mean not even begging food. It can mean just whatever food comes on its own that I'll take. And there are many sadhus that just uh, won't plan anything. They'll wait. Maybe some other sadhu will come and say, I'm going to Puri. You want to come with me? Then he'll go. And then half the way he doesn't want to and say, well, stop. They won't plan for anything. I remember a beautiful incident in the life of Swami Bhudeshanandaji Maharaj, that he went to Uttarkashi to practice austerities. And when he got there, see, there's a Uttarkashi, there are a lot of small little rooms in different places that one can go, just a bare room, that one can go and stay there, sleep there, and go and bake food, do their austerities and everything. So he went there and he asked one sadhu, elderly sadhu, that you know of any spare room? And there's a sadhu. Apparently, everything was there wasn't much filled that time. And there's an old sadhu. He said, "Yes, come with me." And he took him to this room, and he said, "You can stay here." So then he stayed there. Later, he found out that sadhu had lived in that room for 40 years. Yeah, and just like that, was willing to give it up and go someplace else. Then now this was that breeze that came and blew the leaf to another place. So there are sadhus like that. They just whatever the Lord wills, and it comes in the form of somebody looking for a room. Yeah, I'll be blown someplace else. I'll be taken care of. I'll find something will happen. Yeah. So there are sadhus like that. Not many, but so this is that idea. Of course, a householder can do this, but to some extent. That means not overly manipulating and planning everything. So live in the world like a cast-off leaf in a gale. Such a leaf is sometimes blown inside a house and sometimes to a rubbish heap. This is the same thing he says, live in the world like the kitten. That the mother cat may put it on the bed of the master and may put it in the fireplace in the ashes sometime. Equally, don't let the mind be disturbed by either one. So for the householder, uh, it means that one day we may walk into our job and find out that we're transferred or fired. Huh? That means the wind is blowing us in a different direction. The leaf goes wherever the wind blows, sometimes to a good place and sometimes to a bad. Now God has put you in the world. That is good. Stay here. Again, when he lifts you from here and puts you in a better place, that will be time enough to think about what to do then. So we should plan for the future, but we shouldn't be over anxious for the future, because no matter how much we plan, we don't know what will happen in the future. We made everything perfectly planned, and then what happens? We fall down, we get a stroke, mind changes, we end up, yeah. Next day we're on a plane to India. We know these things can happen. So no matter how much we plan for things, there's no assurance of anything. God has put you in the world. That means that his karma led him to be a householder. What can you do about it? Resign everything to him. Surrender yourself at his feet. Then there will be no more confusion. Then you will realize that it is God who does everything. All depends on the will of Rama. Yeah, now this idea that God does everything, we can practice this uh, along with this idea of self-effort if we have this understanding that whatever the results of our actions are out of our hands. So it's not that I'm going to sit down and I'm not going to move until God moves me. We'll end up sitting down. Yeah, it's not nothing's going to happen. For Sri Ramakrishna, it'll happen. For us, it won't happen. But if we do something with this idea that Uh, I'm doing the best that I can, but I know that it may turn out the way I want. It may not turn out the way I want. This is not in my jurisdiction. Uh, then this is that type of karma yoga. But this is again a spiritual attitude that we can feel that either everything takes place because of our karma, or everything takes place because of the will of God. So this is the story, the will of Rama. Master, in a certain village there lived a weaver. He was a very pious soul. Everyone trusted in him and loved him. He used to sell his goods in the marketplace. When a customer asked him the price of a piece of cloth, the weaver would say, by the will of Rama, the price of the yarn is 1 rupee, and the labor 4 annas. By the will of Rama, the profit is 2 annas. The price of the cloth, by the will of Rama, is 1 rupee and 6 annas. Such was the people's faith in the weaver that the customer would at once pay the price and take the cloth. The weaver was a real devotee of God. After finishing his supper in the evening, he would spend long hours in the worship hall, meditating on God and chanting his name and glories. Now, late one night, the weaver couldn't get to sleep. He was sitting in the worship hall, smoking now and then, when a band of robbers happened to pass that way. They wanted a man to carry their goods and said to the weaver, "Come with us." So saying, they led him off by the hand. After committing a robbery in a house, they put a load of things on the weaver's head, commanding him to carry them. Suddenly, the police arrived, and the robbers ran away. But the weaver with his load was arrested. He was kept in the lockup for the night. The next day, he was brought before the magistrate for trial. The villagers learned what had happened and came to court. They said to the magistrate, "Your Honor, this man could never commit a robbery." Thereupon the magistrate asked the weaver to make a statement. The weaver said, "Your Honor, by the will of Rama, I finished my meal at night. Then, by the will of Rama, I was sitting in the worship hall. It was quite late at night, by the will of Rama. By the will of Rama, I had been thinking of God and chanting his name and glories, when, by the will of Rama, a band of robbers passed that way. By the will of Rama, they dragged me with them. By the will of Rama, they committed a robbery in a house, and by the will of Rama, they put a load on my head. Just then, by the will of Rama, the police arrived, and by the will of Rama, I was arrested. Then, by the will of Rama, the police kept me in the lockup for the night, and this morning, by the will of Rama, I've been brought before your honor." The magistrate realized that the weaver was a pious man and ordered his release. On his way home, the weaver said to his friend, "By the will of Rama, I have been released." So these are all uh, spiritual attitudes that will enable us to practice this type of acceptance. When I grew up, hearing all of the time, my mother used to use this expression that if something happened or something didn't happen that we wanted to happen, she would say it wasn't meant to be. She's not saying it's not the will of Rama. She's not saying that it was your karma, not giving any explanation, but it wasn't meant to be. And perfect acceptance and surrender and contentment. Huh? She, she had mastered that. It wasn't meant to be. So we all have different spiritual attitudes. It wasn't the will of Rama, wasn't mother's will, it wasn't my karma, or it was my karma. The main thing is somehow to have a type of attitude that will enable us to practice acceptance and surrender and contentment. It doesn't matter if we like karma, if we like will of God, if we like it just wasn't meant to be, wasn't in the cards, wasn't my fate, my destiny. Doesn't matter. If we have some spiritual attitude that we have some conviction about, or that works for us, this is the main thing. Okay, so we're stopping here. This is uh, around the middle of page 649. Om Niranjanam Nityamanantarupam Bhaktanukham Bhaturavigraham Ishavataram Parameshamedhyam Tam Ramakrishnam Shirasa Namama. We bow our heads before Sri Ramakrishna, who is stainless, of infinite nature, whose heart melts in sympathy for his devotees, who is an embodiment of the divine and the Supreme Lord, and ever worthy of our worship. Om Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. Peace, peace, peace be unto all. Okay, thank you, everyone. Just to remind you all, Sunday is we'll be observing Ram Navami. It's the 28th anniversary of the founding of our center. So everyone is most welcome to come. It'll also be a live stream, and we have a very nice violin concert a Sunday afternoon at 4. This Milind Raikor and his son Yagnesh and Avoy Kulkarni. He'll be accompanying on tabla. So okay, thank you everyone.